We're live in Lagos, Nigeria. Welcome to the News Central Television studios. The headlines for this hour. Uganda agrees to temporarily host 2,000 Afghan refugees at the request of the United States of America. 37 civilians killed in western Niger. Nigeria takes delivery of almost 700,000 COVID-19 vaccines donated by the United Kingdom. Details shortly. Welcome to Continental Prime for viewers across Africa and the rest of the world. I'm Sulaiman Alede. Well, the news begins in East Africa, where Uganda has agreed to temporarily host 2,000 Afghan refugees who fled the South Asian country after the Taliban takeover. Uganda's State Minister for Relief, Disaster Preparedness and Refugees, Anyakun Davinia, said on Tuesday that the decision to host the refugees was made following a request by the U.S. government. The minister says the refugees are expected to arrive in groups of 500 and will be hosted for 3 months, during which the U.S. administration will meet all expenses incurred during their stay. Uganda currently hosts about 1.4 million refugees, mainly from South Sudan. Now, staying on developments in Afghanistan, the fall of the South Asian country to the Taliban has led to concerns over its impact on the global fight against terrorism and insurgency. While the Biden administration's decision to withdraw all U.S. troops from Afghanistan is considered by many as a wise strategic choice that took a lot of political courage, there are concerns that the Taliban's ascendance to formal power will have considerable implications in Africa's fight against terrorism. South Africa, in the meantime, in South Africa, cleanup operations and restoration efforts continue in parts of the country affected by looting and unrest last month. And this has led to the government deciding to keep more than 10,000 soldiers on the streets. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa has deployed the soldiers for another month. In July, at least 2 provinces in the country sustained losses that ran into billions of rands after public violence and looting. It started as a protest against the incarceration of former President Jacob Zuma. But within 7 days, more than 200 shopping malls had been destroyed. However, this latest development is costing South African taxpayers R250 million. Candice Bailey, South African editor and journalist, joins me now to unpack the story. Good to see you again, Candice. Quickly, are there any new attacks that have taken place in any of the areas?
Good evening, Suleiman. At the moment, there aren't any new attacks that have happened. There is still a strong police presence on the ground, and obviously the army is going to be supporting the police in this presence. What is happening at the moment is that we have cleanup campaigns across the parts of KwaZulu-Natal that have been affected by the unrest and the looting, as well as the certain townships in Gauteng where there was also looting. So people are trying to restore their lives. They're trying to reinvent their businesses, come back and just come back to normalcy.
Now that normalcy seems to have returned, some of the concerns by some Africans is the government trying to also help some of these people bounce back to business, knowing full well that it's been really low for a lot of people affected by the lootings?
Indeed, the government has put quite a significant plan in place to help businesses affected by the looting. Obviously, lots of the shopping malls have insurance, so they can effect those insurance claims. And obviously, our state insurer is trying to speed up this process quite significantly, so people who have claims of just over R1 million, are able, just under R1 million, pardon me, are able to have started their claims. Others with bigger shops with bigger expenses are obviously it's taking a bit longer. In terms of the informal sector, which we have quite a significant part of that was affected in both KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng, government is also trying to put a plan in place to make sure that they can sort of start restoring their businesses as well.
Well, while that is going on the government side, the people are a little bit worried because there are still soldiers on the streets. Why is that so?
Well, I think the government is taking a cautious approach to the incidents. Obviously, the attacks last month, government was caught unaware, and it's the President Cyril Ramaphosa admitted that to the nation in a live address. So I think that they want to take an approach where they can rather preempt any further attacks. They want to keep a strong police presence, particularly in areas that are considered hotspots. So it's not the entire province of KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng that's affected, and that's why you would see the state has actually pulled back on the number of troops that they have on the streets. Initially, shortly after the unrest and during the unrest, we had about up to 25,000 soldiers on the streets, and now they've pulled that number back to 10,000 to just maintain a presence.
Well, Candace, looking at the figures, it doesn't look good, running into billions of rands. And now let's talk a little bit about the cost before I let you go. This is quite a significant amount of money for South Africa. Has there been any reaction to this from the public?
The public have been surprisingly quiet about this, but I think where the reaction did come from was actually from our parliament when they were told about the costs. So the issue of costs first arose shortly after the protest action in July, and the Defence Portfolio Committee were told that, in fact, the 25,000 soldiers was costing the economy 650 million rand, so just over R500 million. And they were obviously saying that, we need to understand how this money is being spent and what resources are going where, so that we know that we can avoid future attacks and we can avoid future incidents like this. Obviously, the cutting back of the soldiers to 10,000 reduces that cost a lot, but we're still looking at spending 255 million rand, which is R250 million rand, which is quite a significant cost. So I think Parliament is concerned about the cost and if this money is being spent correctly, but that's also part of their role as an oversight body and making sure that accountability is effected.
Well, Candace Burley, many thanks for your time.
Thanks, Raymond.
From Southern Africa, let's move to the West, where the International Organization for Migration says 47 migrants are feared to have died off the coast of Mauritania after a boat was found drifting with 7 survivors on board. IOM's Nicholas Hotchett told AFP on Tuesday that the boat left the Laayoune region of Western Sahara on August 3, heading for the Spanish archipelago of the Canaries. Now, Hotchett said the boat suffered an engine failure and drifted for nearly 2 weeks before being spotted by Mauritanian coast guards off the Nouadhibou waters. Now, reports say armed men have killed 37 civilians in a flashpoint region of western Niger, where hundreds have died in extremist attacks this year. On Tuesday, a local official told AFP that the attacks occurred on Monday, with the assailants arriving on motorbikes in the village of Daridaye in the Tilaberi region. The death toll is believed to include 4 women and 13 children. The deaths bring the unofficial fatalities from extremist attacks in western Niger to more than 450 since the start of the year. It is also the 5th attack in this area of Tilaberi in as many months, claiming 151 lives. Now, staying in west of the continent, Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari will meet with security chiefs on Thursday That's according to a statement released today by his special advisor on media and publicity, Mr. Femi Adesina. The statement notes that the country's security forces had taken the battle more robustly to insurgents, bandits, and all other criminals troubling the country in the past few weeks. The meeting comes less than a week after the president returned from a 2-week medical leave and various security incidents with recent concerns in Plateau and Zamfara states. Nigeria's Security and Civil Defense Corps has warned personnel engaged in operations to be wary of extrajudicial killings, primarily via accidental firearms discharge. Commandant of the Corps, Ahmed Abubakar, during the passing out parade of about 267 officers trained by the Corps to help strengthen efforts against insecurity, asked the personnel to be ready to fulfill their quota in the fight against insecurity. Mr. Abubakar says that the Corps is confident of the officers' ability to handle emerging insecurity challenges ranging from kidnapping, banditry, and other vices. He says the Corps has currently restructured its weapons handling training for cadets, and those that breach its rules of engagement will be so sanctioned.
These officers and men have passed through an intense and very rigorous training and have come out ready and well prepared to contribute their quota to the actualization of the core mandate. The nation is experiencing a new conflict. And what is that conflict? The asymmetric conflict is a conflict that looks like a guerrilla type of fight, where the hoodlums, miscreants, insurgents, and bandits will come out and hit on targets, and then they will go back to hiding. Now, the only strategy to deal with this crisis is we must come together and work as a team. We all have very high expectation that you will greatly contribute your quota to the sustenance of our national security. I urge you to continue to raise the bar of excellence and professionalism which you have imbibed, and to be good ambassadors of the Corps as you return to your various formations. Please be warned that accidental discharge is an aberration under this administration, under my watch. You have to take note of that. We don't have anything that is called accidental discharge. And that is why I said we are going to rejig that sector, that section of training, especially those who are handling arms. And we are going to read the riot acts for you, especially if you are in that unit, arms handling. You must know how to strip and assemble. You must know how to shoot well, because it is one man, one bullet.
Well, uneasy calm pervades Nigeria's power sector as the Senior Staff Association of Electricity and Allied Companies has urged some aggrieved union members to retrace their steps or remain expelled. The association's leadership said it had expelled over 14 recalcitrant members over anti-union activities, accusing the disgruntled members of breaking its constitution with impunity. Ijoma Esekhalai's report is presented from our studio.
The Senior Staff Association of Electricity and Allied Companies is facing an internal crisis unknown to many.
Now, that is the first of such regional...
Addressing journalists in Lagos, president of the association, Chris Okonkwo, expressed regrets that the crisis is an in-house illegal movement where some members sectionalized the union and formed a parallel union. While it described the development as a growing level of desperation by self-seeking and self-service members to misuse power and liquidate the association's powers, he appealed to bona fide members to avoid them due to their suspension.
The meeting was to address some provocations that some of our members have resorted to, despite our calm demeanor in managing their misbehaviors of the past. And it has become like handshake passing the elbow. So we needed to straighten up things, and that is why they are expelled, starting with the so-called acting president, whom we will take up will take up his criminal action of impersonation and falsification of SIAC records in the document he used. We also take them up civilly for blackmailing me and saying what never happened, particularly alleging corruption.
Other executives of the association shared their views, though with an appeal that the suspended members turn a new leaf. He equally urges the Minister of Labour to intervene.
Every step we have taken from the inception of the crisis was in strict compliance to this constitution. Well, if they have withdrawn the letter they wrote outside the association, we would have ended this matter there.
Everybody was united. We were one before some officers, before they derailed. We pray that they will come to their senses, because I don't know what really caused all these things they are doing. We pray they come to their senses and come back, because SAEC is one united body. As they are trying to separate it, saying the one said is acting PG, another, I don't understand what they are doing.
Without proper resolutions of the issues concerning the power sector, Nigerians might be in for more serious economic challenges.
When the news returns, we'll bring you updates on the coronavirus pandemic across the continent as Egypt receives a batch of vaccines from the United Kingdom. Details of these and more when we return. Stay with us. If you just joined us, you're welcome. You're watching Continental Prime here on News Central Television. Now to our COVID-19 stories, as more than 1.8 million Tunisians have been fully vaccinated against COVID-19 since the country's vaccination program, which began on March 13. The Tunisian Health Ministry announced the figures on Tuesday, adding that the total number of people registered on the electronic vaccination platform EVAX exceeds 5.19 million. The latest figures show 1,062 new COVID-19 cases have now been recorded in the North African country, raising the total tally in the country above 626,000. The ministry puts the death toll from the virus at over 22,000 after 21 more deaths were recorded. Now, the World Health Organization says the United Kingdom has donated almost 300,000 Oxford AstraZeneca's COVID-19 vaccines to Egypt. A statement on Tuesday says the shots, which arrived in Cairo Monday, were shipped via the Global COVAX initiative with the support of UNICEF and WHO. The shipment was a part of a first tranche of the 100 million vaccines that British Prime Minister Boris Johnson pledged at a G7 summit. The new doses came days after Egypt received about 1.7 million AstraZeneca shots through COVAX. In the meantime, Nigeria has received about 700,000 AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine doses donated by the United Kingdom. The acting British High Commissioner to Nigeria, Gail Atkinson, says the donation is part of the 80 million doses the country had pledged to support the COVID-19 fight. She called on citizens to take advantage of the availability of the vaccines and get herd immunity against the virus. In the meantime, the executive director of the National Health Care Development Agency says the vaccines will be deployed immediately, prioritizing those who already took the first jab.
I am glad to inform you that last night we received 699,760 doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine donated by the UK government. We are most grateful to the government and the people of the UK for this gesture. This vaccine will be deployed immediately to the states and will be administered as soon as the second dose to those who had earlier received only their first dose of the vaccine during the first phase of the vaccination rollout.
The vaccines delivered to Nigeria today are part of the 3 million doses of UK donated vaccines to 11 countries across Africa, and part of the 100 million doses that our Prime Minister has pledged to donate within the next year. The UK was one of the first countries to back COVAX, and to date we have committed £548 million to fund vaccines in countries across the world, and we have consistently called on other countries to step up their support. Working in Nigeria, we have restructured our health and development programming to support Nigeria's response to COVID, and we continue to respond to the COVID outbreak, working in close harmony with the relevant elements of the federal government of Nigeria.
And this contribution from the UK government is commendable. It gives an additional arm to our fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. We are hopeful that it will open the way for other contribution and donation from African Vaccine Acquisition Task Force, from the COVAX, from bilateral donation. I'm confident that the Nigerian government will use all its avenues to make vaccine available.
Now, mass COVID-19 vaccination will resume in Botswana on Wednesday, August 18, in a campaign where the country seeks to inoculate more than 2.3 million people. Now, the Southern African country recently received batches of the AstraZeneca and Johnson & Johnson vaccines and intended to use them to continue its Phase 2 vaccination. The Permanent Secretary in the Health Ministry, Christopher Yanga, says the target for now will be persons aged 45 years and above, even though Phase 2 of the vaccination campaign covers adults between 30 and 54 years. So far, Botswana has fully vaccinated more than 161,000 people. The head of the Southern African Development Commission, President Lazarus Chakwera of Malawi, has called on fellow leaders in the region to fight for fair access to coronavirus vaccines. Mr. Chakwera made the call in his maiden speech as head of the regional bloc. He said Africans have a moral duty to reject second-class status in the distribution and production of vaccines invented and manufactured in laboratories where some of the scientists doing such work are Africans. According to figures released by the Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the number of confirmed COVID-19 cases in Africa has exceeded 7.31 million on Tuesday. The latest update on Africa's COVID case load shows that the death toll from the pandemic exceeds 184,000. The health agency says South Africa, Morocco, Tunisia, and Ethiopia are among the most cases in the continent. In terms of the caseload, Southern Africa is the most affected region, followed by the northern and eastern parts of the continent. At the same time, Central Africa is the least affected region on the continent. Moving away from the coronavirus, but still staying on health matters, a public health emergency has been declared in Uganda after scientists detected polio in samples taken from 2 different sewage plants in Kampala. This comes after the country was first declared polio-free in 2006, but suffered outbreaks in 2009 and 2010. Uganda's Virus Research Institute shows that the strain detected is related to a variant first reported in Sudan. Uganda's health ministry says it is stepping up polio surveillance across health facilities and will investigate all children under the age of 15 who may present sudden paralysis or weakness in the limbs. Still ahead here on the news, the United Nations is calling to Afghans at imminent risk following the takeover of the South Asian country by the Taliban. More on this when we return. Join us again. Now, thousands of people, including tourists in campsites, have been moved to safety as firefighters tackle a wildfire close to the French Riviera. Many were given only minutes to leave as hundreds of firefighters were deployed in the Var region to the west of Saint-Tropez. Fire officials say the blaze broke out on Monday and has consumed more than 5,000 hectares. 19 people suffered smoke inhalation and 3 have been injured. The United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights has called on the international community to extend all possible support to those at imminent risk in Afghanistan. A spokesperson for the Office of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Rupert Colville, made the call on Tuesday while briefing journalists on the agency's position on the events unfolding in Afghanistan. He called the Taliban to demonstrate through their actions, not just their words, that their fears for the safety of so many people from so many parts of the world, walks of life rather, are addressed.
Scenes at Kabul airport yesterday underlined the gravity of the situation after the Taliban seized all the major population centers in Afghanistan. Fortunately, the capital and the other last major cities to be captured, such as Jalalabad and Mazar-e-Sharif, were not subjected to prolonged fighting, bloodshed, or destruction. However, the fear instilled in a significant proportion of the population is profound, and given past history, thoroughly understandable. They have said women can work and girls can go to school. Such promises will need to be honored, and for the time being, again, understandably given the past history, these declarations have been greeted with some skepticism. Nevertheless, the promises have been made, and whether or not they are honored or broken will be closely scrutinized. As the Secretary-General said in his statement to the Security Council yesterday, all parties, including the Taliban, have an obligation to protect civilians and to uphold human rights. They must respect and protect both international humanitarian law and international human rights law.
The Nigerian government has set a 6-month timeline to transform its state-owned energy company into a limited liability company. Minister of Petroleum in Nigeria, Timipre Silva, announced on Tuesday after President Muhammadu Buhari signed the Petroleum Industry Bill. Silva told journalists in the country's capital Abuja that a transitional committee has been set up to ensure that Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, the NNPC, becomes NNPC Limited. Minister Silva noted that although the new Petroleum Act has deregulated the oil sector, subsidy policies will remain until further notice. In the meantime, in Mozambique, a deactivated pipeline has been vandalized in the northern region of the southern African country, causing a fuel spill. The owners of the pipeline, Petromark, says an investigation into the damage is underway. Petromark chairman Helder Chambise said the oil firm is committed to cleaning up the spillage to prevent environmental damage. The Mozambican Energy Ministry last month says an attempt to steal petrol resulted in 5,000 liters of diesel being spilled into Pemba Bay, further north up the coast from Nacala. The ministry says the spill affected a 3,000 square meter area but did not contaminate marine animals. For the rest of the news, let's go to Lokba Delero Balogun.
Good evening and welcome to Business on NC Continental Prime. I'm Tolulokwe Adeleru Balogun. We start in West Africa, where Nigeria's state-owned Bank of Industry has announced plans to raise as much as 750 million euros or $883 million from international debt markets this year. This is for lending to companies hindered by the COVID-19 pandemic in Africa's largest economy. This has been confirmed by the BOI's Managing Director and CEO, Olukayode Pitan. The BOI's Managing Director said the bond proceeds will be deployed to areas of priority, including healthcare, transportation, education, solid minerals, and agriculture. The bond will be the lender's fourth international debt deal since 2018 and comes on the back of the Nigerian government's appointment of financial advisors earlier this month for a planned $6.2 billion Euro bond issuance. And staying in the country, Nigerian authorities have released qualifications for the concession of 4 international airport terminals in an effort to encourage the private sector to participate in infrastructure investment in pursuance of healthy aviation growth. The permanent secretary of the Ministry of Aviation, Hassan Musa, in a statement, said that the airports surrounding communities were intended to develop into efficient, profitable, self-sustaining, and commercial hubs, which would create more jobs and develop local industries through a public-private partnership project. The 4 airports open to private investment are the international airports in Abuja, Lagos, Kano, and Port Harcourt. Away from Nigeria, broadband network and digital services being offered in Seychelles are getting a boost. This improvement in service is due to the addition of a new broadband cable system that will be leased by Seychelles-based telecommunications provider Intelvision, with support from the International Finance Corporation. The IFC intends to fund data, internet, and internet-based voice services, as well as pay TV through the company. It will give an up to $10 million loan from its own account and an additional loan of $10 million mobilized from partners under the Managed Co-Lending Portfolio Program. The funding will enable Intelvision to lease a new cable being built by Vodafone Carrier Services as a branch of the 2 Africa Cable Network. The 2 Africa Network is one of the largest subsea projects in the world, spanning over 37,000 kilometers and connecting 26 countries around the world. Seychelles' economy relies heavily on tourism, accounting for 30% of the GDP. This has suffered due to COVID-19 related travel disruption. The government is focused on strengthening the digital economy to support recovery and the next phase of the country's economic growth. In North African business news, an Egyptian delegation led by Minister of Supply and Internal Trade Ali El Said Ali El Mousli has met with the chairman of the Belarusian Chamber of Commodity and Industry, Vladimir Ulakovich. Top of the agenda was how to increase trade in goods and services between Egypt and Belarus. The parties dialogued on the current state of trade and economic cooperation between the countries. They are looking at more opportunities for the growth of the mutual trade in goods and services. They also talked about the opening of new assembly factories for Belarusian machinery in Egypt, as well as the organization of supplies of jointly manufactured products to the markets of other African countries using the logistical capabilities of Egypt. Staying in the region, Libya's oil minister Mohamed Oun says the country will sustain its current crude outputs if lawmakers can overcome a lengthy dispute and pass the OPEC members' first nationwide budget in about 7 years. The North African country is producing roughly 1.3 million barrels per day with a target of 1.5 million by the end of 2021. The budgetary standoff is the latest potential challenge for the industry in the country. Libya holds Africa's largest crude reserves but has struggled in recent years to pump levels close to those produced under the late dictator Muammar Gaddafi. Fighting between rival factions has put the oil fields, ports, and workers in the firing line and caused regular production drops. The minister said his ministry has requested 7 billion dinars, about $1.5 billion, for investment projects. The minister also said that Libya is studying offers by foreign companies to invest in refining-related projects without naming any of the firms. And that's the business news we have for you right here on NC Continental Prime. I'm Tolulokwe Adeleru Balogun. There's more news coming up.
In sports tonight, Nigeria's basketball coach says he's had enough. And we get to know who plays who in the delayed 2020 African Cup of Nations tournament in Cameroon. Onye Obaro has the rest of the sports stories. How are you doing this evening, Onye?
Good evening. I'm very well. Thank you, Sulai. Now, in the world of sport, associate head coach of the Nigerian basketball team, Alex Nwora, has quit his role. Nwora sent his resignation letter on August 6, 2021, in a letter addressed to the president of the Nigerian Basketball Federation, Ahmed Musa Kida. Nwora's resignation, which comes after the Tokyo 2020 and about a week to the AfroBasket 2021, were not immediately stated. He was appointed by the Nigerian Basketball Federation in 2017 and led the D-Tigers to a 2017 FIBA AfroBasket tournament, winning a silver medal. And now the World Athletics President Sebastian Coe has said that the World Under-20 Athletics Championship is crucial in adding the transition from the junior to the senior level. Speaking during a press conference in the Kasarani on Tuesday on the eve of the event, Coe said the athletics has inspired many, adding that Kenyan athletes have always been an inspiration to him. He also expressed his disappointment that no fans will be allowed to the event, but remains optimistic that the future event will have fans back in the stadium.
Kenyan athletes. And there are so many medalists that have gone on from these under-20 championships to perform at the very highest and the most credible level in world athletics. But the under-20 championships is important not simply because it's an outlet for competition. It also is one of those great bridgeheads in our sport. We know, anybody that coaches, many of the member federations know, that the greatest dropout rate in our sport is between the ages of 18 and 20. Very few athletes that even win medals at World Athletics Under-20 Championships go on to represent their national teams as senior athletes. So the opportunity for those athletes not only to be inspired, but to remain in the sport is hugely important. And I know that also from the many coaches and the many federations that I speak to. And that's why so many federations are grateful to be here. And there are medalists that have competed in the World Athletics Championships that will be in these championships.
So in the world of sport, the draws are out for the delayed 2021 African Cup of Nations. Hosts Cameroon are in Group A with Ethiopia, Burkina Faso and Cape Verde. The defending champions Algeria are in Group E with Sierra Leone, Equatorial Guinea and Ivory Coast. Senegal are the top-seeded team in Group B with Zimbabwe, Guinea and Malawi. Nigeria in Group D with Egypt, Sudan and Guinea-Bissau. Morocco and Ghana are in Group C with Gabon and the first-timers Comoros. The older debutants Gambia are in Group F with Tunisia, Mali and Mauritania. Now in tennis, which is our final story right now, the women's world number 2, Naomi Osaka, has broken down in tears before resuming her first news conference since the controversy over refusing to speak to the media at the French Open. The 23-year-old became emotionally shortly after being asked about dealing with the media in this format. Osaka, a 4-time Grand Slam winner, had in May said she would not do news conferences to protect her mental health. She went to pull out of the event after being fined and missed Wimbledon to take a break from tennis, having experienced anxiety and depression. But she returned to play her home Tokyo Olympic Games, where she lit the flame at the opening ceremony before going to lose in the third round. Osaka also said she supported American 4-time Olympic gold medalist Simone Biles, who pulled out of the women's gymnastics event in the finals for the Tokyo Olympic Games to focus on her mental health. And there you have it, sports stories at this time. I am Onyechi Obaro. Back to you, Suleiman, for the rest of the news.
Thanks, Onyechi. And of course, well, still to come here on the news, quite a number of things happening in the world of entertainment. And someone has tried to give us an insight into what exactly her next album will be about. And for Nigerians, perhaps you all know what they call Gary and water. Sam Dandy has all of that when we come back.
Of course, now to entertainment news. Nigeria's leading female artist, Tiwa Savage, has teased her upcoming EP. Now, this is going to be titled Water and Gary. Now, today, the body of work becomes available for pre-order before its official release date on Friday the 20th. Now, less than 5 hours ago, the 41-year-old multi-award winner disclosed the title of the songs and features. Now, Water and Gary will consist of 5 tracks and will feature Nigerian stars Amare, Tei War, and American big names Brandy, Rich King, and rapper Nas. Now, the much-awaited EP is a follow-up to her successful 2020 album, Celia. Now, Kenyan sensation Elsa Majimbo was the first to break the news. Now, of course, here's what to expect.
When's the EP coming out? When's the EP? Everyone wants to know. Everyone wants to know. So I took one for the team and I spoke to Tiwa and she finally told me the date. Water and Gary coming out this month. Never say never give you guys anything. Look how much I've put in for you guys. You're welcome.
Like she said, 20th is the date to mark. Well, still in West Africa, remember Nigerian comedian Basket Mount announced that he would executively produce and star in Showmax's second Nigerian original show, now Ghana Jollof. Now, after a month, the comedy series directed by DJ Adirogba has announced the kickoff of principal photography and shared via an Instagram post introducing some of its new cast. Now, they would include Nigerian actor Uzo Arukwe, content creator and YouTuber Aka Nani, Nigerian comedian Funny Bone, and Ghanaian actor James Gardiner. While the plot of the series is still unclear, we're certain it will be nothing short of excitement. Considering the vast cast, well, here's what Basket Mount himself had to say.
Guys, something big is cooking. Sounds good. My name is Chef Basket, and guys, something delicious is cooking, and it's Ghana Jollof.
Looking forward to how that's going to play out. Well, now to neighboring Ghana, actress Beverly Afaglo has today asked that the GoFundMe campaign created for her after the fire incident be shut down. Now, the 32-year-old mother of two had lost all her property in the massive fire just last week. Afaglo, who had received multiple backlash online after the incident, thanked her donors who contributed to the GoFundMe campaign. Unfortunately, after a week, the GoFundMe has raised $1,864, now equivalent to 11,000 Ghana cedis so far. Now, this is not up to 10% of the target and wouldn't be able to rent a space for the actress. Now, after asking for a campaign shutdown, reports say that at this time, the GoFundMe campaign is still active. However, Yvonne Nelson, who created this account, has removed the link from her Instagram bio. Well, here's what Beverly Afaglo had to say.
But we went against them and went ahead to do the GoFundMe, thinking that the love that I was receiving was going to be the same love that I was receiving or I was going to receive, but it turned around to hate. The moment Yvonne posted the pictures of the GoFundMe and all information, hate and trolls started coming in from every corner. Today, which is 1 week of what happened to me, I'm going to ask everybody doing the GoFundMe, especially Yvonne Nelson, to end the GoFundMe. It is ending today. I come forward saying,
it's rather unfortunate, for the actress. But indeed, she's been posting that people have sent anonymous gifts to her, and we hope that, her and her family will be fine in these times. Well, finally, to international news, 23-year-old American rapper Silento has been indicted over the murder of his cousin, Rooks. Now, the rapper's cousin was found dead earlier in the year after sustaining gunshot injuries. Now, Silento, who gained massive acceptance in 2015, has now been indicted by a grand jury on 4 charges: malice murder, felony murder, aggravated assault, and a possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony. Now, according to a report, the police gathered videos from the security cameras of several neighboring residences and identified Silento as the person responsible among several cars fleeing the scene. Now, if you're still unfamiliar with the young star, Silento's breakthrough track, Watch Me Whip and Nene, was a social media phenomenon in 2015 and peaked at number 3 on the Billboard's Hot 100. Now, currently with over 1.8 billion views on YouTube. Here's that particular video. All right, now our condolences to the family, of course. Well, that's how we wrap up entertainment tonight. Back to Salai with the rest of the news.
Well, what a way to wrap up that with Sam Dandy. Not a good weather for the young lad. But anyway, let's see what the weather desk has for us. in terms of sunshine and rainfall across the continent. That's it on the news for this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of the big stories. Uganda has agreed to temporarily host 2,000 Afghan refugees at the request of the United States. 37 civilians have been killed in western Niger. And finally, we told you that Nigeria has taken delivery of almost 700,000 COVID-19 vaccines donated by the United Kingdom. You can follow us for more on our social media. We're at News Central TV. You can also download our mobile app on App Store and Play Store. You can also watch News Central live in Star Times Channel 274, Avio TV, Channel 23, Vision 247, Free TV, and on YouTube. I'm Sulaiman Lederman. Thanks for watching.